Hello, everybody. We are back. We are about to start our round two of the PSS4. I'm Michael Hoyp. I'm joined in the booth by none other than Michael Flores. How's it going, Michael?
It's going.
It's going. All right. That's a start, I guess. So we are about to watch the matchup between Tom Metelsky and Christian Wisner. I'm going to jump things down to the players' decks so we can figure out what they have available. Uh, all right, just a minute as I screw things up on my end. Our band screen. Here we go. Okay. All right, now the players can see, or all the viewers can see what I was intending. So Tom Metelsky has brought the mono blue Stifle Knot list, blue white Landstill, and a Sly list. His Sly deck has been banned for this week. And Christian has the blue red Stifle Knot, red green Goblins, and the Rock. And Christian's Rock has been banned.
That's weird.
That's weird.
Why
Yeah.
would you do that?
Why would anyone ban the Rock? I don't know.
I,
Oh,
I can tell you, I don't know. I just watched The Rock play last round.
yeah. Flores,
I
do you
guess
want to?
if you can't play your Sly deck, maybe The Rock gets a little bit more viable. But I don't know
Yeah.
if you knew that ahead of time. Um, it's interesting. Like the Sly deck has such a bad matchup against some of Christian's decks. It's not very good against his 12-12 deck, for example.
I mean, you can't say that now, but the problem is when the way the players ban decks, it's not a reactive thing. Like you don't know if you're like if you leave Sly unbanned and then your Stifle Knot list gets banned, then you're like, oh, that matchup that I kind of wanted is not available to me. So, um,
Look, man, you're talking to somebody who literally waltzed into his worst possible matchup in the entire PSS. Like, kind of because BK was like, it's not that bad. And I'm like, oh, I'll play Astral Slide. Yeah,
is
I
that?
understand what you're saying, man. I get it.
All right, so
I'm
let's.
just saying that, like, it's weird. It's weird to me because he has like such lopsided matchups. Anyway, there are remaining decks. Do you know what they chose? Can
Yeah,
I
I do.
guess?
Yeah, you can guess.
Okay.
Yep. So
So Tom's remaining decks are blue, white, kind of Landstill, kind of Parallax. And then his other deck is a 12-tail deck, right?
yeah, a mono blue one. Yep.
Yeah, and then so Christian's remaining decks are goblins and a 12-tail deck,
Yeah, and
right?
his goblins is the red green variety, so it does have access to naturalize after sideboard.
But he has Hearth Charm, right?
Uh, I'm not sure on his exact list, but I do
He
believe
has
so.
Hearth Charm. I know this because I saw Hearth Charm and his list was Hearth Charm too. I was playing in a pre-modern meetup this week and my Masticore got Hearth Charmed, so I now know what Hearth Charm does. I'm like, what's that? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, dead Masticore. Anyway, I think that if I were Tom, I think I would play 12-12. And if I were Christian, I think I would play goblins.
Okay.
How am I doing?
Let's see. Let's see. All right. So if I go down to the decks, first deck for Tom, he is playing the mono blue Stifle Knot. So one for one. All right. We have seen this deck out of Tom before, but there are a variety of Stifle Knot lists in the pre-modern metagame. This one is opting just to go mono blue, and I think the benefits to that is, I guess, consistency. I mean, Gush is really good. Obviously, there are other versions that play for Gush, but having access to Wasteland is another benefit. Other than
So
that,
so Tom
what do you
doesn't
like about
play
this deck?
he doesn't play Lotus Petal in his deck, right?
That I think is the biggest deviation. Is a lot of the Stifle Knot lists have kind of gone away from this really aggressive plan of trying to get a very early Stifle Knot, and they are playing more towards a law game. They have more cards to fight a battle, to resolve a Dreadnought, or to protect a Dreadnought once it's in play.
So Tom went undefeated in the monthly two months ago, I think, with Mono Blue. He's obviously a capable mono blue player, and his first of all, his deck's very powerful. Second of all, he gets his combo early. Kind of doesn't matter what the opponent's doing unless they're doing something along the lines of like their own 12-12. They're just going to get run over. And I like the choice.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I picked it for Tom. How about Christian? What is he on?
He is on none other than the Red Green Goblins list. So
I was 2 for 2. So here's the thing about the Goblins deck. Hearth Charm gives him an out to the 12-12 in game one, and he's going to have lots of outs because he's going to be able to bring in 3 naturalize as well. And then underrated, and then also a Hull Breach. I think I'd probably bring that in. That's like a
Sure.
horrible terror, but horrible terror is good enough if you're dead in 2 swings with Trampo. But Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast are really underrated sources of interaction against the Stifle Knot deck lists, because the Dreadnought, while powerful, it needs a friend, right? It needs a Vision Charm, it needs a Stifle, right? So you can break that combo up very easily with Red Elemental Blast and Pyroblast. And then sneakily in Cristian's deck, because he plays the card Skirk Prospector, he can be tapped out and he can sneakily get a red mana
Sure.
to mess Tom up. So I like 12 on the fundamentals. I think that Goblins is the most underrated deck in all of Premodern, and I like Tom's deck lists. Cristian is on the play, but he's going to 6, so that's a 2-card advantage for Metelsky. I don't know. I think let's watch him play.
All right, I'll jump down the match.
If I had to guess right now, 8 cards against 6, I'm picking Metelsky in game 1. What do you think?
All right, I mean, my heart says Goblins. I think the first deck I ever played was Goblins, so it's hard for me to root against them. Anytime that I feel like they have a chance, and I do think that they're a little bit I don't know if disrespected or like underappreciated, because I mean, like, they are powerful and consistent, and
I think it is hands down the most underrated strategy in Premodern.
Do you think it's because, like, you think people don't think it's good, or are you just saying that it's just that much better than what people think it is?
Here's two statements to answer that. First of all, Flint played it in what they're calling the West Coast Premodern Championship, which is a $1,000 tournament. I don't know how you can attract 28 players in your first Premodern tournament and declare it to be a championship, but sure, the West Coast Premodern Championship, top 8 by Dr. Flint Espel, PhD, playing Goblins. With the exception of that play by Flint, you almost never see the top /name Premodern players playing Goblins, which is one of the I would just attribute, like, if you're going to see a player like a Rich Shea or a Flint, high Q rating players, they're typically going to be playing Hermits or Parfaits, flashy decks that are extremely expensive to own, replenishes, things like that, elves. Look, Olerade always plays elves, right? So it's like a $3,000 deck. So it is it's just a deck that you don't see the top players playing as frequently. That's one of the reasons why I consider it to be underrated. And the second thing is, I think that people don't apply strategy to playing against Goblins whatsoever. So a really simple thing I would say is, I had a friend who he beat Goblins in game 1 playing Parallax Replenish, and he basically treated it like the red deck matchup, which is very, very easy for Parallax Replenish. I'm like, no, Goblins is actually one of the worst matchups you can possibly have. If they have a naturalize and they're starting 60, you almost never win. And I just walked him through it, and it was like, oh, wow, I don't get that. People don't get the nuances and the capabilities that the Goblins decks have separate from the red decks. As a result, either of the presence of naturalize in their starting 60 or the discard spells. It just is something as simple as, like, a linear creature deck being able to side an engineered plague is actually quite meaningful. If you're, let's say, the red-black version, which Cristian is not, we should let them play.
Yeah, I just let them know they can start. Yeah, I would say one thing that we didn't really touch on is the power of Goblin Lackey, and while it certainly isn't as powerful as like a 12/12, it takes a lot less work, and we see Cristian cracking a fetch land right away, and we could be seeing this turn 1 Lackey, which, when you talked about the lack of Lotus Petals out of the Stifle Knot deck, that one turn of difference could really make a difference with a Goblin Lackey connection, and just being able to apply a board pressure that a 12/12 just doesn't do enough.
So certainly, if he gets a Lackey here, which he does, right? That's the Goblin Lackey. Cristian has the capability of just deploying 7 mana worth of permanents next turn, right? Like, that's very bad for Tom on the draw. I mean, he would love to Hydro Blast here, right? Unfortunately, it's game 1.
Yeah. So yeah, typically like the highest peak is Siege Gang Commanders, Goblin Ringleaders, or maybe Goblin Matron, and then sometimes Goblin War Chief. But there are a lot of cards that just really, when they start with a Goblin Lackey, can really accelerate your game plan, which is really important in not maybe not necessarily always this matchup, but like against a deck that is going to try and kill you quickly. It gives you an out where some aggressive decks would just fold to a 12/12.
Yeah, so to be fair, Christian started on 6. He might not have like a super fantastic turn 2 kind of Black Lotus play. Maybe he's settling for a Goblin Ringleader for free, which is still good. That's 4 mana worth of value, but it's not like de facto game ending, right? Like that's the thing. If it's turn 2 and let's say Christian's just like pile driver Siege Gang Commander or something, like I find it very difficult to imagine Tom winning that game.
All right.
Also, you can't counterspell Goblin Lackey.
Yeah, that it comes down early, and we do see the Siege King Commander after the connection with the Goblin Lackey. So, the board is full, and the pressure is on. Like, if we just see a pile driver after here, then that is threatening a turn 3 kill, which we do. All right.
Is that a pile driver?
It's a shiny pile driver, so yes.
Yeah, that is literally the worst case scenario for Tom. Pile driver also has protection from blue. Not that matters an enormous amount. It could in a sideboard game, but that's a heck of a 6-card hand.
Yeah, one thing that like a lot of the matchups, like if you do know you're a Goblin deck and you are against a deck that is trying to combo, you are going to be very aggressively mulliganing for the Lackey. The one thing is like Christian doesn't know for sure what he's playing against. He's either playing against the mono blue Stifle, which he really wants Lackey, and then the blue white Landstill deck where Lackey sometimes can be blanked by like a Swords of Plowshares or a Mistress Factory, and so.
At this point, he must know that he's playing against 12/12 deck.
Yes, at this point, I'm talking about at the point when he's mulliganing. He doesn't know for sure what he's playing against.
So I don't even know if Tom can dig out, even if he has a 12/12.
Well, so Tom did foil the Goblin Pile Driver, so the Pile Driver is not in play. So he didn't have mana for Counterspell, but he did have mana for foil. So,
but it's like he can't really attack back. Like that's the problem, right? So
sure.
Let's say he absorbs 2 points of damage here, takes 4. There's going to be another Lackey trigger. I mean, I guess he can block the Lackey, which 5 puts him at 14. That's not that bad. He just tries to. He can't even solo him in 2 hits because Christian can just chump block like some excess damage. Is there Goblin Tinkerer in Christian's deck?
Yes, there is a copy of Goblin Tinkerer, so he does have access to that.
Yeah, so like that's real bad. I mean, I think. What do you block here? Do you block the 2/2 or the Lackey?
I think I blocked the Lackey, but I haven't done the math where like the Siege King Commander might be the play, and because I think the Lackey is better at racing because you don't know exactly what's going to come out of it, and Christian still is on 2 mana, then like you might not be as worried as like the board going wide, and you might be able to race just a Siege King Commander. But
like if there's a second Siege Gang Commander or something along those lines, you really don't want to let the Lackey get in. Let's see what he's blocking. It looks like he blocked the Lackey. I think that's what I would do. It really stinks to take the extra point of damage. Notable that Christian did not throw that at him. Is that a sharpshooter?
No, that's another pile driver. So
another pile driver.
This one would get up to 9 power, so not enough to take down a Dreadnought. So here's the interesting thing. So like Tom has to make the decision of whether he like without this pile driver. I guess it is kind of a close race where he might say, "Can I race? Like not deal? Like can my 2 attacks from a Dreadnought beat what Christian's doing?" And I have to imagine with the pile driver that's not enough because it would be 1, 2, 3, 5 plus 9, 14, and then you'd have 1 activation. I mean, there's a chance that Tom just attacks here.
Can Metelsky do some goofball thing with Boomerang or Reality Ripple? Like I'm just trying to imagine like kind of corner case moves that he can make.
Well, Stifle certainly could come into play. It could stifle a trigger of the pile driver. While it does have protection from blue, the trigger on the stack still could be stifled. or an activation of Siege and Commander could be stifled. We did see when this Dreadnought came into play that he did use a stifle. I think if you had both Vision Charm and Stifle in this situation, I think Vision Charm.
Yeah.
In certain matchups, you would do it the other way around, but I think in this one, Stifle has more value, especially game one. And so we do see the attack for Tom. So he's just going to try and race and hope that Cristian doesn't have enough
Cristian's
damage.
At 7? How is he so low?
He took 1 from a fetch land, and then he took 12 from a 12/12. So
well,
he's able to attack here for, if I did my math right, so it's 5, 6 plus 8, 14. 14 without any activations of Siege and Commander. If there is a Mountain and a War Chief, then it would be 20.
So,
or not 20, it would be...
I mean, if Tom has 2 stifles, that's probably pretty good.
He has to have a stifle
Why
here,
did
right?
he put an island onto his hand?
Gush. Gush was
okay. Stifle.
Oh, he does have a stifle.
Right.
Okay. So this could leave.
I mean,
so you're stifling the trigger of the Gunpowder Driver, so this is an attack for 6.
Presumably, yeah.
Instead of 14.
That would put him at 9, which is woefully out of range, right? For the amount of mana that Cristian has, which is an amazing comeback on the part of Tom.
And barring the Hearth Charm, I don't think there's any interaction. Like, there's no amount of toughness. I don't think a Skirk Prospector would line up enough that there's enough mana to deal the damage.
There's only 1 mountain.
Yeah. Well, Skirk Prospector would give you access to extra red mana, but I guess at the cost of your goblins. So.
Is he picking up his cards?
I think so.
No Hearth Charm.
All right.
So the fact that I was educated as to what Hearth Charm does didn't come into play this game.
Yeah. So Tom takes down the first game, which from a board what we said was the perfect draw from Cristian. The lackey into Siege Gang into Pile Driver, and it still wasn't enough. So even without the Lotus Petals, I guess the Mono Blue Stifle Knot is able to take down the Goblin Step.
I always cheer for somebody. I'm cheering for Tom because I like 12/12s and like other. Not that I'm a top pre-modern player, as evidenced by my record currently in the PSS4, but I don't know. I don't like goblins, just like everybody else doesn't like goblins. Although I do respect it if I'm playing against it.
Is goblins the bad guy? I don't. I have listened to you commentate where the goblins was the good guy at some point. So.
Yeah, I mean, it could be the good. I mean, I banned goblins when I played against Cristian.
All right.
I didn't want to play against it.
All right, I've got the deck list up for Tom. Looking at the sideboard, there are nulls, which I don't think are very proactive or do much at all. A Hydroblast is a card that seems very good.
All 4 Hydroblasts are coming in.
4 copies.
I think I would also bring in the Boomerang. And I would not side in Winter Orb because that seems really bad against Lackey.
Are you looking at Boomerang because you think it's actively good, or you think it's better than a card that's in your main deck?
I think Misdirection, for example, is pretty bad.
Okay.
All right. So, well, let's look at what you would side out. Right. I don't know if he has enough space. I actually think Counterspell is pretty bad. He's going to be on the draw this game. So maybe he sides out like 3 Counterspells, Intuition, and Misdirection for Boomerang and 4 Hydroblasts. I like that. Counterspell's horrible.
The one angle of, Misdirection... So, Misdirection is good in a fight against Pyroblast, but not Red Elemental Blast. Is that correct? No, either one can redirect to the Misdirection. So I think it doesn't matter. I was just saying because one of them has the phrase of like if it's blue, but yeah, it doesn't matter. So I could see Misdirection if you're looking to fight the blasts.
That seems horrible to me. The only time that you're going to have blasts is Red Blast against the Stifle or Vision Charm sequence, right? Like. I guess not the only time. That's like probably the most likely time that you're going to have that. So I don't really like Misdirection in that spot. I think you want Misdirection more in... I don't know. I don't like it.
Okay.
There's no... You can't like... I would like it if there was like a Fire Blast in this deck.
Okay.
right?
I've got
Maybe
the
it
goblins
loses
list
rage.
up now, and it has 2 pyroblasts, 2 red elemental blasts, 3 naturalize, 1 goblin tinker. So I've listed what is that for 8 cards. All those seem very good. 2 caller of the claw, 2 pyrokinesis, a tranquil domain, a hull breach, and a sharpshooter. So
So
I think I like those first 8 that I mentioned, and then hull
yeah,
breach.
no, no, and Goblin Tinkerer. I would actually bring that in as
Yep,
well.
yep.
So that's 9, right? So Tinkerer plus Naturalize is 4, Hull Breach is 5, plus 8 Blasts is 9. I think that Christian should play the control, and he, I don't. I think if he chooses to play the control, like not worry about landing lackeys fast and not worry about like going all in on pile driver and stuff, he probably can't lose. Um, so I think that I would just side out like a lot of my speed and consistency type cards in favor of just stopping Metelsky from being able to win. Tom only has 4 sources of damage in his deck, and all of the sources of damage he has are contingent on a blue spell resolving. So uh, that's like an enormous amount of pressure that you're putting on for Phyrexian Dreadnoughts, some Vision Charms, and some Stifles if you bring in those cards. Again, he's already got a Goblin Tinker in his main deck as well as Hearth Charm. I would like just side out like all of like the things that are like very goblin flavored in favor of just being like uh Raging Glaciers version 1.7 or something. Like just kill his stuff.
So I do agree in terms of that Christian is the control role, and the dynamic is definitely very different in the second game than it was in the first. I'm curious exactly which cards get taken out because you could do it in 2 approaches. I think you could leave in a card that like Mob Fanatic that is not very impactful, but it's very cheap. And it, because your answers are, maybe your plan is just to apply a cheap threat and then have a reactive card after that and just apply pressure throughout the game.
But it just doesn't matter. Like, so I work with like a lot of like the really strong red and I mean red theorists in general, but like goblins players around maybe 2003, 2004, like Dan Paskins, who was an English national champion, and Suyasu Fujita, who is, obviously the red deck wins master, the inventor of kind of shocklands, fetch lands, and just so decorated. He's a Hall of Famer. They had 2 very different approaches to goblins around the same period of time, but they came to very similar conclusions through different paths. And I'm telling you, attacking with pile drivers into big creatures is not how they would want to approach this game, right? Like you could just sit there with any clock and you'll eventually win if
All right, we're
Tom
gonna jump down to
dominates.
the game as the players are started. It looked like a mulligan, 1 mulligan for Christian. I saw. I don't think Tom had a mulligan, but Christian's gonna lead off with a mountain.
But mountain nothing, right? So
Mm-hmm.
maybe I don't think I would set out 1 drops. I think I would set out cards like Pile Driver. Even though
Okay.
Pile Driver is protection from blue, it doesn't matter. There's not a
Yeah.
blue blocker in this
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. The one card that matters, like the one permanent in play, is not blue. So
This is a not
BK
a
says,
flood.
I agree with Mike. The clock doesn't matter. I don't know if I disagreed with you, but I don't know which Mike he's referring to. So I'm assuming he's saying you. So
I'm gonna assume he's agreeing with me.
did you feel like my statement disagreed with what you were saying? I don't.
I don't really think so. I just think like I think it's kind of counterintuitive for folks that are like, oh no, my deck is supposed to go lackey, etc. Like, look, I mean, if Tom doesn't answer this Tinkerer, like he's in a lot of trouble, right?
Mhm.
Like he literally has to, I don't know, reality ripple it twice, or
Yeah, or have like
sideboard
all
that
the
never
stifles
gets
in your deck.
read.
Yeah.
Like it's if that resolves, it's just bad times. Like it's not that he has an auto loss; it's just really bad.
I guess that definitely makes a card like Boomerang much more appealing to bring in the second copy because of a card like Goblin Tinker. So
I mean, to be fair, he has tons of time insofar that like that Tinkerer is a very slow clock, right? In the absence of Goblin Ringleader, Christian is drawing 1 card per turn, and he can just Hydroblast it and then do his combo, right?
okay.
So that's a available thing if he just accumulates enough mana.
Yep, Hydroblast, I guess, yeah. I did forget about that card. I think of it as a counter spell more than a removal spell a lot of the time, but
It
yeah,
could
it does both.
it can target that. So probably, I think Tom is just thinking like that thing is going to take like 15 turns to kill me.
Well, he could be thinking like if he does have a card like foil, do I want to use a foil now, or is the game going to go long enough that I need to find a Hydroblast anyways? Or
There's no way you foil there. What if Christian has a red blast? I
Mhm.
mean, you're just getting 3 for 1 in your thing.
Well, this Dreadnought is coming out in against this Goblin Tinker, so I have to imagine that there is access to something. Okay, well, a Vision Charm will keep it hidden at least until Tom's next upkeep, where he might have a little bit more mana interact. But I guess I was not expecting the Dreadnought to come out this quickly.
Tom has a plan here because what's happening on the battlefield is incredibly predictable. So, does fading go on the stack? Is that like
phasing?
Phasing, sorry.
I do not believe so, though I'm not.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I'm not the keenest judge person, so.
Yeah, so like the window is weird, right? Like that even if he wins this fight, Christian's going to have an opportunity to kill the 12/12 with his Tinkerer. Okay, Red Blast.
So we're still fighting before this turn is passing. Yeah, I think with phasing it phases back in the untap step. Yep. That's what Rich has just added. Yes.
All right, so
Hydroblast. Red Blast is fought with the Hydroblast, so we do have a resolution of the Vision Charm. For the time being, the Dreadnought is protected, but there's still a Tinker in play. So,
I mean, he has to have a plan. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't make that sequence of plays if you already had a Hydroblast. I just don't know what his plan is.
Unless his plan is that I cannot win the long game, and he needs to hope that there's no Red Blast there, and he's just gonna like resolve it there and then blast the Tinker. That is the only other explanation, I think.
No, he wouldn't have fought the Hydroblast fight if that was the case.
Okay.
Right? He literally would have let the Hydroblast fight go, right?
This is wait. So also the Tinker
on the wild side.
Wait, is the Tinker attacking or is this? No. Okay. I was gonna say.
He's attacking into this 12/12.
No, I wasn't looking. I was looking at something else before.
That's a straight jaws of victory. What you're talking about, man.
I thought it attacked when it was phased out. That's what
Okay, so what do we got here?
But yeah, this needs both either a Stifle, a Vision Charm, or yeah. But this is just a short-term solution.
Yeah, so he could just go land with another Stifle in his hand or a Hydroblast, and he's fine. I mean, look, so he's up against an untapped Rishodon port right now. Like, literally, land Hydroblast or land Stifle is game. Here's the gush. Gonna be land. He gets either one as game. I mean, unless Christian has another Red Blast, obviously. So Metelsky has like a bunch of cards in his hand that aren't an island. So it's not going to be a Hydroblast. Is it going to be... It could even be another Vision Charm. I'm very excited to see what it is, though.
Yeah. So if it is a Vision Charm, then Christian could activate the Goblin Tinker on his turn, and the Vision Charm would come back. Then Tom would get to attack. Or he could get the option of saying like,
yeah,
I'll just do it during your upkeep, and then if the Vision Charm would at least buy him a turn.
Yeah, but if he does it on his upkeep, he's up against 3 mana or 2 mana instead of 1, right? That seems far inferior to me. Oh, he's tapping his land.
If you have no way to protect it, though, then I think the mana doesn't matter.
Oh no, Rishodon Port got him. If he's tapped, you just kill it right now.
Yeah, I do agree. Yep.
Okay. All right. That was exciting.
Well, people have debated whether the inclusion of Wasteland or Rishodon Port is better in the Goblins list, and here we see a shining example of where Rishodon Port was very good. That Wasteland would not have helped. So
Wasteland, there would be a dead Christian on the other side of the battlefield in about 35 seconds.
And we do have multiple goblin pile drivers, which do work very well in concert. That applying the
Well,
pressure is very quick. So,
given a situation where we're in right now, where there's no dreadnought in play anymore, yeah,
mhm. Yeah.
Goblin Top Driver's going to be fine.
And we talked about that the Goblin Tinker doesn't do a very good job of attacking, but
No, but
when he attacks with the pile drivers, then it does do is a
he's
very good supporting cast. So
he's got a pouch full of cocaine that he's going to deploy over to the pile drivers. Be like, hey boys, you don't look fast enough. Uh, how long is this going to take? That's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
well, the
10.
pile
It's just two
drivers
attacks, right?
are five, so it's just one. Or oh
Two
no,
attacks.
I'm getting life totals mixed up. Yep. Yes. Yeah, just two attacks.
All right. I mean,
Tom,
there's even Carploos in Forest open right now. I guess he doesn't want to win in two attacks.
yeah. So that's very defensive. I think I would be attacking. Is there?
Now
I would.
it's probably right.
All right.
It's like BK said, the clock literally doesn't matter.
Sure.
What is that card?
That's
Oh,
that's a
lackey.
lackey. So
So I mean, he definitely cut something, right? I I guess it wasn't pile driver, um, but yeah, I think he's just deep seated the control role. Those 9 cards came in. I bet that Tinkerer. That's probably the sideboard Tinkerer, if you ask me. It's not the main deck Tinkerer. There's no
do
way
you,
to prove that I'm wrong.
do you, do you ever like mark your cards in some way like or like one has a nick or something that you know it's the one
Oh
from the
yeah, I'll like play
sideboard?
a different. Play like a Spanish one and a Korean one or something, so I know which one goes where.
That
I
seems
do that all
easier
the
of foreign
time.
language than my version of the one that's physically
Oh,
damaged.
you mean illegally marking my cards? No, I don't illegally mark my
No,
cards. I
I
mark them
just like
legally.
their cards can have like nicks on them that they aren't marked in a
So you're
sleeve.
so you're saying there's a wear on the card that you're aware of, but your
Yes.
opponents and the judge are not aware of? That's called an illegal mark, Mike.
I I'm at a loss for words. I've been pinned into a corner and made the bad guy. So
Look,
the
man, you were the bad guy the minute that you decided that Land of War Wastes was a playable card in pre-modern format.
I am the hero that everyone. I am the Batman.
You're the Batman.
All
So
right.
I just don't like the rock because it's not very good against red. Like I don't think it's unplayable in every matchup. BK told me he thought the blue white matchup was pretty good. I mean, I believed him. It turns out that wasn't true, uh, or it didn't bear out that way this match anyway. But yeah, I think that like the rock's identity in pre-modern is just like a red killer with its 8 walls and blastoderms and ravenous bailouts, and if it doesn't do that at like a 75% clip, just not interested.
I just think of it as like a 45-55 deck a lot of the time. Like your matchups range like your worst matchup is 45 and your best matchup is 55 and there is an appeal to take that deck to a tournament because you get to play Magic the entire time.
Yeah, but that's like a, I mean, that's like a really poor strategy for winning a tournament,
Maybe you think
right?
you're really good at Magic and that it is a good strategy. I don't know.
I mean, if you're really good at Magic and you only have a 5% edge, like
Just in
on
a deck
average,
matchup, I don't know, but
like you need your opponents to make a lot of goofball plays in order to actually rack up an X-1 record. Like that, like in my opinion, it's better to play like a lopsided deck, um, like Astral Slide, and then just hope you don't play against 2 big spell decks over the course of the Swiss, because you probably won't. Right? Like if you look at like a lot of these tournaments, like, oh, there's like an Elves deck and like 5 red decks, and like a Rockies win all those matchups. They just don't play against Rich Shea.
I will agree. If your sole goal is to win the tournament, I would agree with you. I will say there is a slight factor of you like if you just say like if you knew you were not going to win the tournament, like you could not get first place. Let's just say like, do you think there's any value of like the games you play are more enjoyable in some way? Like, is there any added value to that
Okay,
or
if
no?
I'm
Like,
going into the tournament and I'm like, I know that I'm not going to win the tournament, so I I don't know why I would attend the tournament. My
okay,
philosophy is to try to win the tournament every single time. But if I knew that I couldn't win the tournament and I have to like try to eke out some life enjoyment on the way, like I would play maybe a more cerebral deck, like the red deck is much more cerebral than the rock to me. Like it's a deck of limited resources that has to find a path through. Like I love watching Aaron play it. Aaron wins from these situations that are highly unlikely that people would win. I just watch commentators talk about how he's not going to win, and then 2 seconds later, his Astral Slide opponent is put all of his white permanents in the graveyard. He gets fire blasted, you know. So I think that like limited resources and then finding a path when the other guy has more stuff than you that is a heroic way to play Magic, right?
All right.
Fire blasts and jackal puffs make it seem less fun, but that really, in my opinion, is a way to play Magic that is more skill testing. But you know, if you're telling me I cannot win the tournament, you're not telling me what my ceiling is. I should probably play Fluctuator, so then I would have more time to BS with my friends in rounds. You know, like
Yeah, I guess maybe saying like that you can't win the tournament is not the best way, but when you talked about like saying like you would play a deck where you feel like you get challenged or something like the cerebral effect or like I get that feeling with the rock. To me like the games I think are very interesting, and like me having agency with Cabal Therapy and what I name like has a very dynamic factor of how the games play out. Like to me I think that's very interesting, and that's part of the appeal of the deck.
I played Elves in the $1,000 tournament that I chopped with Mano a few weeks ago. It's so mentally taxing to play that deck. We should let them play. We should let them
Oh, they can play. Did they ask?
play.
Yeah, I think they know. Yep.
Okay. So like it's just night and day how mentally taxing it is to play Elves versus playing these other, and that's math, and you're aware that you're not playing well.
Well, I mean, a decision tree like is pretty linear when you only have some amount of cards in your hand, but when you have survival of the fittest, like that tree like really goes exponential pretty quick.
So I think that is part of it, but I think that to me the thing that I'm constantly coming up against playing Elves is how much mana I've left on the table.
Okay.
Right, like, and I could have just done 9 more damage that turn than I did, and I think about it in retrospect, like always just playing this so much better than I am on a consistent basis. I'm just good at thinking about things and before executing them. Okay, Island versus Rishodon Port and a Mountain. I think it's likely that Cristian is going to port here, which is what he does. What do you think about the card Peak instead of Portent? I would have just so much rather had a Peak there.
So a lot of the times that I've had Peak, it's indexed with like Metelsky Mage and whatnot, and I'm not as high of it there, oddly enough, because it's like a lot of times I will look at their hand and see that they don't have a certain card, and then I still name that card anyways with Metelsky Mage, so I don't feel like the Peak is that valuable. I don't. I think on its face, like I think Portent digs better. I like Portent more. I guess I think that's where I come to.
I would actually say like it's an instant, so in a situation like this I get to cast my card draw spell instead of like just losing my mana, but I don't care about naming with Meddling Mage. I just get to see their hand, and then I'm like, oh, do they have a Sword Supply? Sure, sweet, here's my Dreadnought.
Yeah,
that's the end of it.
Sure. So if you're talking about the mono blue version, yeah. One thing I do like about Portent is like if you are in a situation where you do get to resolve a Dreadnought, then like casting Portent on them and just like because the value of buying buying like 1 or 2 turns when you have a 12 token play is very valuable. So
Mind Sculptor them.
Yeah.
All right. How about this? Is that an opt?
Yes, it is.
How about Peak against opt? MJH.
I can see that slot. I think I like that translation a little bit better. I would play swap those cards quicker, I think, than the Portent. So.
What did the last mana go to? Was that another opt?
It looks like it, looking at his graveyard. So.
Who do you think the battlefield currently favors? So Cristian is not missing any land drops. He has a Rishodon Port. He can cast Naturalize or Hull Breach. He can cast 2 Naturalizes. He searched for the forest with Karplusan Forest in play.
I think because of how many answers that Cristian has, I think it's good for Cristian. Like he has Naturalizes, Blasts, and Tinker and a Hull Breach, and like all those cards are very good. Yes, it would be more ideal if he's being able to chip in for damage every turn, but I think Cristian is fine with this game like going along.
Do you know what actually the board situation as it is would be sweet if Metelsky had Winter Orb? Like, because the thing that the only real kind of dictate that Tom can do here is to cast a bunch of his cards all cost 1, right? So blasts cost 1, vision charms cost 1, stifles cost 1, everything costs 1. So if he just like does all of his stuff, what is that? Goblin Tinkerer?
Yeah, that's a pile driver.
Pile driver. So if he casts a bunch of spells in his own turn, then Metelsky can just answer all of his spells, but he'll be tapped out, and he can try to get him with the Winter Orb. I kind of like that, but I just don't know how he can contain Cristian here. Like Cristian could just play all of his cards 1-for-1, and the mana advantage that Tom is getting out of having all of his cards be 1 casting cost is not that meaningful.
Yeah, I think it's pretty like counterintuitive to have a card like Winter Orb against an aggressive, quote unquote aggressive deck. But I do see the point that you're bringing up.
Or not even that, like an aggressive deck that's just sided in Hull Breach and Naturalize. Me and Cristian just both took a swig at the same time. I bet his drink is probably more interesting than mine. I'm drinking a ginger flavored sparkling water, 365 brand.
I was saying it's more. I've moved on to a Bud Light, so that's yours is probably more exciting than mine. So.
Oh, I'm not going to drink a lot of beer.
Mm.
How do you feel about Fernet? Have you had to have any Fernet? Apparently, that's
No.
a bartender's drink.
No, I have not.
I think so. You're gonna go to the bar. I think you should order Fernet and take a shot of Fernet. It tastes like Coke.
Okay.
And so like Fernet and Coke is actually a pretty common drink, but I don't know. If you drink Fernet, you feel like a grown up. I don't know if feeling like a grown up is a thing that you're.
That's the only way that I probably can feel like a grown up. I feel like people always talk about growing up, and I'm like, I still do all the same things I did when I was a 10-year-old. I play Magic the Gathering, and I play Age of Empires 2, and I play volleyball, and I've done those all since 1999. So
You have a daughter then too, right?
Yes.
How many years is your daughter?
My daughter will be 12 in about a month. So
your daughter is 2 years maturity advanced relative to you, Daddy.
Yep. So
Same on all counts. Okay, what do we got going on here? Intuition, and Tom is looking for a miracle, act of God, and an answered prayer.
yeah, the thing about like intuition when you're using it against a deck that has a lot of answers, like I wouldn't want to get necessarily like 3 dreadnoughts because there's a high possibility that one of those gets resolved and then like your deck is just very like threat light, and then like the game is just gonna go like 100 million turns and you're gonna lose.
I don't think you can afford to get 3 dreadnoughts unless you're holding a dreadnought. And I think that the question that you have to ask your opponent before resolving this is how many cards they have in hand. Because if you resolve a dreadnought and they only have like 2 cards and you have like an interplay card, like a hydroblast of your own, for example, you can just kill them, right? Like that's a possibility, even if they get through the first dreadnought. But I totally agree with you, Mike. I don't think that that's what he's going for. I think if I were in this spot, I think you'd have to go for something like either free counter spells or like Gush to get some resource advantage, because you're just gonna lose to just the sheer volume of 1-for-1s that Cristian is presenting. You need to have like way ahead on cards in order to just not like every Hull Breach beat you. What's that? Counterspell, Hydroblast, and foil.
Foil, Hydrobus, yeah, counter spells, yeah. So it is a
that foil would be in hand so fast if I were on the Wish side.
So it's just like an attrition thing. Like the mana is not the problem; it's just the card advantage.
So, like I was saying before, I think that if you're Tom, you have to build resources to overcome just the volume of 1-for-1s is a big problem for you, right? So just of the incremental cards that have come in, it's like a 9-4 advantage, and that's not counting cards like the main deck Hearth Charm, the main deck Tinkerer. So the advantage is 9. It's about 3-1 on decks like that. Cristian has 3 ways to either break up the combo or kill a dreadnought for every dreadnought in Tom's deck, and that's not even counting the fact that a Tinkerer can take more than 1. like you just need more cards.
Okay, I'll agree. I agree that makes sense. But like when the game goes like very long, we're still. I guess we're probably into the late game at this point. But I think I could see some fear about a Christian. Like if Tom had like a close to perfect hand where he had mana to cast a Dreadnought and obviously a Stifler or a Vision Charm, and then like one counter spell, and then he just needed a foil, which he doesn't have the mana currently to cast like a second counter spell, but he would have enough like cards in hand to protect it again. Like then I could see like maybe the perfect things situating like where the foil could be kind of scary. But in the long game, I do agree that the card disadvantage is a problem.
But I think that Christian doesn't have to play in such a way that it's not the long game, right? Like the onus is on Tom to shorten the game. If this goes to libraries, Tom will run out of cards. He's cast multiple opts already, right? Like literally Tom has to win the game. He's the beatdown. He's not like even people think, oh, he's the blue deck. No, he's the beatdown by a mile, and he has to navigate all of the removal in Christian's deck.
And not only is like Tom the blue deck, but like he's playing against a goblins deck, which I think 99% of the time the goblins is the beatdown. So it's a very interesting role reversal because of the sideboard that Christian has.
Yeah, I would say something other than I agree, but that would make my message muddled relative to what I'm trying to say, which is that I agree.
All right, Gush is going to return to islands, and the blue man is floated, and looks like Christian is looking to respond to this. Is this a card you would fight over? Oh,
Probably
okay,
not.
okay.
Like if you just gush and let the gush go and nothing comes of the gush, at a minimum, Tom has put himself behind on board position against a deck that already has a Rishdon port in play. Just let him have it. It's fine. Like Gush is powerful in that it can replace itself with like 2 Hydroblasts.
All right, it looks like Tom is going to try and present a Phyrexian Dreadnought. We'll see how things go, because Christian so far has not applied a lot of pressure. He still's got a lot of cards in hand, so I have to imagine that he has forms of interaction for this Dreadnought.
Oh, I mean, I think that he has 2 naturalizes in his hand, if only because he searched for the forest when he already had Karplusan Forest in play.
Okay.
Notably, Naturalize or Hull Breach can't. Oh, Hull Breach can be interacted with a Blue Blast, but Naturalize can't. So it's actually pretty good relative to the red options. See, like Tom can have like literal Hydroblast here, and he's like, that sucks. But he has a counterspell that we know about.
Yep.
I mean, he's committed to counterspelling this Naturalize. I think. Like,
I agree. Yeah, like unless you're just accepting that your Dreadnought's dying but then you're still just going to die to what's on board. So I don't.
You have to do. The problem is you can't accept that because what are you going to do? Try the same thing next turn?
Yeah.
He's already down 2 for 1 if that happens because he's down not just a Dreadnought but a Vision Charm. Look at that. Somebody was right about the number of naturalizes in the opponent's hand.
That's one of the things. Like I think I don't do a good enough job of paying attention to like small things that are telling of what might be in someone's hand, and free information is very powerful. So
Gush here. So Gush is a powerful card. He's gonna maybe get a foil. What are they debating about?
I don't know, but
there's still 5 cards in Christian's hand.
I'm just gonna admire the stack. We have what 1, 2, 3, 4 had like 5 cards on the stack. So
yeah, I mean 12/12 resolved. Trigger on the stack, Vision Charm, response naturalize, counterspell, naturalize,
and a gush. Yeah.
So it could be anything, man. Chaos.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, based on Tom's body language, I don't know what Tom's body language is. I can barely see his hands.
Yeah, just you're very keen at looking at someone's hands. See, there are people talking about. We were doing commentary last week, and people were talking about like how you're holding a card, like you're holding it to the right. Their thumb was very confident that they had a force of will in hand or something like that. So,
Was I right on the foil? I think he was trying to gush into foil. Looks like it's gonna be a foil. Those islands are
yep.
gonna go to work. Yep. Okay. So this dreadnought is gonna stick. 2 mana open. Presumably more action in hand after all of that. But he's up against, is that 4 cards?
Yes, I am seeing 4 cards of the
You know
Cristian.
what's actually goofbally? That Cristian cast that naturalize. He could have gotten dazed there.
Oh well, there's a Skirk Prospector in play, so.
Horrendous. Oh, sorry,
Yep.
I couldn't tell.
Yep.
I apologize. So he couldn't have gotten dazed there.
Yeah. So the mana source that you talked about when you're tapped out, you were talking about using it for a hydra or a red blast, but yeah, it still has the option to pay for days with.
Oh,
Skirk
so
Prospector.
assumption is he doesn't have a red blast because otherwise he would have prospected for it right there.
Unless he's respecting. Well, I think you would lose the days there because like the red blast doesn't do anything when the dreadnought comes back into play. So yeah, I would agree there. Yep.
Yeah, he doesn't have it. Oh my gosh. That was a really educational sequence that we had between the two of us, Mike.
Well, also I guess, and then like you wouldn't use the second naturalize before you would use a red blast before the naturalize.
Yeah, because the naturalize is good this turn.
Yeah.
The other one isn't good anymore. He's just gonna like summon a Tinkerer, maybe. I've been getting text messages. My text messages are just like, please go 1 and 4 this week. Trying, buddy. Not for lack of trying.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so Cristian is going to try for a Goblin War Chief, but Tom's going to use a Hydroblast on that. So Tom just.
Not.
Well, are you worried at all that your 12 toe could be raised? Because like here, if that attack would have been for 4 plus 4, 8,
Yeah,
you would go down.
As a Tinkerer.
Okay. I don't know. I can see that. Like, if you can't beat the damage, then maybe like, I don't. Then maybe it's just worth it because 8 damage this turn, and then like pretty much any other goblin would just kill you. I think the next turn, which we do see a pile driver. So.
Oh, I guess I'm underappreciating the pile driver damage. You're probably right.
Yes.
Tom's probably thought about this more than I have.
So Tom's going to need to attack twice. This dreadnought will come into play, and it will be able to attack right away. So he's got to worry about 1 attack potentially from Cristian. And so Cristian is looking at, on board, he's looking at an attack for 11.
So just to point something out, like he could have let the War Chief resolve and then blasted the pile driver. The pile driver is the thing that's added.
You can't blast a pile driver because of the protection from
on
blue.
The stack.
Oh, okay. Well, you don't know that a second. I think the
I'm
one.
saying I wouldn't have blasted the War Chief.
I think it's very reasonable to blast the War Chief there because any goblin. Well.
I don't know what's in Tom's hand.
Yeah.
And that, like, based on Tom's hand, it probably was right. He's a very good player. I'm just saying that, like, information unknown, I don't think I would have blasted the War Chief. But these two players have something in common, which is they both need 2 attacks to win the game. So here we go. Is Tom doing something EOT? Or is he thinking about blasting something? Oh, he's dazing the pile driver.
Okay.
But so that's awesome. That's a fire blast.
Yeah, well, it's more like gaining 4 life. Yeah.
Mangara's blessing.
Yeah.
That gains 5. Whatever it is.
Sacred nectar.
But here's the other thing about it. If he does this play, which is a super reasonable play, then he doesn't have Skirk Prospector shenanigans mana. Okay. It is 2 1-2s against a 12-12. There's going to be 2 islands in play in a second. This is super exciting, by the
Yeah,
way.
the games have been very interesting.
I mean, I have a whole chair that my butt is on, but I'm only using the end of it.
All right, so the Dreadnought gets in for 12. Cristian's going to go down to 5.
5 to 15. So there's 3 cards in Cristian's hand, I want to say.
I think that's correct. So if we're looking at, I mean, so how much damage would, oh, if he's just attacking here, then
6 damage.
okay, then he needs to have an interactive piece. Like, I was trying to do math in terms of War Chief plus another card, if that could deal enough. Like, if we're a Mog Fanatic, which is unlikely still in the deck, but like that'd be a lot more damage.
Hearth Charm.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That could have been. Well, Hearth Charm is a way to interact with the Dreadnought. That I think. I'm thinking of just ways. I'm thinking of ways of like applying more creature pressure
Oh, I'm sorry. I
to
thought you were
race.
saying
Yeah.
that he has to have like a way to interact.
Given that his attack is like not playing any creatures before it, then if Cristian wants to win this game, he needs to have something like that because obviously playing like a post combat 1/1 or okay, Hull Breach is the card that he
Hull
has.
Breach can be blasted.
And with Tom tapping mana, it looks like he will Hydroblast the Hull Breach. And Cristian is going to need a response and able to stay alive because the 12/12 will finish him off otherwise.
I think I would have tapped one of the islands with Rishodon Port prior to attacking.
To play around a card like Counterspell.
Yeah. He's going to have it on upkeep, which is he's just dead on the board, right? If he doesn't get rid of this. I mean, Hearth Charm. Say it again.
Yeah.
That was obvious that Cristian didn't have a blast. That's the thing, right? The way he played it.
Mm-hmm.
So if he has a Hearth Charm, that he will have had to just draw it. You know what's really great about Vision Charm versus Stifle is it stole the opportunity to cast a sorcery speed Hull Breach. Cristian would have had the window for that.
Yeah.
And it just took it away. Vision Charm is actually really good. It counterspells. Like an Enlightened Tutor straight up.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it kills a man. All right. All right. Cristian's, I think, said go.
Which does not bode well for the Goblin player. So
you figure if you have your thing, you'd do it now, right? Hearth Charm.
So you're respecting a Vision Charm. I think that would be the reason to go to the upkeep. The problem is here you're not playing around a card like Counterspell. I think that's the downside. I guess I can't think of another.
Tom. Let's see, is it gonna opt? Vision Charm. Okay.
Okay. Well, so it looks like the sequence that Cristian chose did make a difference.
Played it right.
Yeah, because if he would have done it on his turn, then a Vision Charm just would have.
Just to be hyper cognizant, Cristian is himself an aficionado of the 12/12, so he probably knows those lines. All right, Tom is tapping an island.
Because of Rishodon
he was
Port,
just
it looks
Rishodon ported.
Okay.
That doesn't seem like the most relevant thing in the world to me. 2 cards left in Wish's hand, and
Tom is at 9, and
if it's like a haste goblin,
yeah. So ringleader or war chief, that would be 1, 2, 8, 4. Yeah, that would be enough. That would be a 2/2 haste would be 4 plus 8. If I do my math right.
Well, if 2/2 haste, each of the pile drivers is worth 5 damage, right?
Yeah.
Matron.
That would get what for 2 mana? I don't know what this gets.
I mean,
there's no 1/1 haste. There's no Raging Goblin.
Mog Fanatic. 6
no,
in.
that's not
There's
enough.
11. No.
Um,
Maybe it says a land in hand.
yeah, I mean,
If it's just a land, it's fine.
okay.
Yeah, I mean that's like a man who has a land. I think it was for suspense for the folks at home.
All right, there is a land.
A
So
daze here.
days comes into play. I mean, and like foil, looks
And
like a
looks like a
foil.
daze.
Oh gosh.
Oh, no,
Ooh,
a
so we're
gosh.
not. We got more suspense. All right, so we're not quite there yet.
This is so tense.
This,
All right.
because if this war chief resolves, then barring a
It's
blue
game.
blast, which I don't know why you would let it resolve. There's an op still,
Opt.
so this is like foil or bust, I think. Or is there mana floating?
No, he could just get a daze.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, there is a daze.
And then daze.
So with not being able to play the extra mana, I think that just leaves
I
Cristian.
think that's game.
He'll
All
attack.
right.
He'll attack. He says, "I've got a sharpshooter, but it's not enough." So what a wild finish to a very interesting game. That was really fun to watch. So props to Tom for being able to take that down. And from what I could see, that was very well played by Cristian. So very interesting and very fun. So
yeah, Cristian played really well. Like the last, kind of that last turn sequence around the Hearth Charm. I mean, I think like it was really, really aware tactical play on the part of Cristian versus Tom. I mean, Tom just put together a plan. So I was saying, like, all right, Tom has a plan here. Otherwise, he would not be taking these actions. So it was like a bunch of actions versus some really tight individual actions. I'm actually surprised. I thought that the Goblins deck would have been favored in 3.
all right, I'm going to unmute the players to see if they're talking about their sideboarding strategy, as we can see Tom laying out his sideboard right now.
All right. He sold on the 16 islands, so I've been boarding out like one all the time.
Yeah. We had to unmute them, I guess.
Oh, yep.
Hello, players. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes, that was a very exciting match. That was really fun to watch. So props to both of you for very well played. But it was really interesting. There was a lot of interesting decisions. Or the red deck got to play very blue and very controlling. So it was very cool.
Cristian only brought in looks like 7, not 9. We thought he would bring in 9.
Okay.
That game 3 was sick. It's funny. I thought he was going to counter my intuition. I mentioned it in the chat because I was looking up like his list. I was like, all right, he's going to counter this for sure. And then he did it, and I was like, well, I don't know what to do now. But then it was either my split was either the one I did, the 3 different counter spells, or 3 islands just to thin, because like I was just like trying to like get as much like counter magic for. I figured he had like probably 1 or 2 naturalizes and a pyroblast, or vice versa. But then that was insane, and he was playing it right too. Just like play the lands first, then start playing your threats to get the clock while he can like hold up his pyroblast and naturalizes. So that was difficult.
Yeah, first game you had all the answers in time for my pressure.
Yeah, and then game 2 I kind of had an early start too, but it's just like I don't know.
Yeah.
Goblins just like fast.
And in this game I keep a hand, I think, with 2 naturalize and Apple Driver, and I don't remember the other cards, and the Rich and Poor. So first turns I trying to tap you out. So, but yeah, I just need a lucky or something more important to put pressure with answers in hand, and doesn't work that way.
That was tight. Like, I was saying, Gush was so ridiculous. I hope it put on a good showing how good Gush is. That card is so ridiculous.
Cristian, what were the cards you sideboarded out? We saw the cards that came in.
Actually, I forget to say out a sharpshooter.
Okay.
That's the last card I had in hand this last game. I think I set out the fanatics, the Champagne incinerators, 1 session, 1 or 2 ringleaders, 1 matron. 1 matron. 1 session. 1 ringleader. 1 session. 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 1 matron. 1 session. It's
Okay.
always the sideboard with goblins is hard because you want to draw threats. And in this match, I have a ton of answers in the sideboard.
Yeah, that makes sense. The one thing
Even the whole bridge.
I was curious if you left in a card like Mog Fanatic, where it on itself doesn't seem that impressive, but just
Yeah,
being so,
that helps with Ball Driver.
or just being
I
cheap that you can apply it
yeah.
early, and like you don't need to get to 4 mana to deploy it, and then you can use the other cards. I wasn't sure what angle you would go for, so
I think I kept one randomly, one fanatic, and yeah, I forgot to set out the sharpshooter, but yeah, it could be another fanatic or
yeah. But those games were very fun. So it was.
I'm glad you like it.
It could have gone either way, and yeah, that was really interesting to watch.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
is there stuff you guys want to add? Or Flores, do you have any questions for the players?
Oh, Cristian, I just thought that your play on the last turn with waiting on the Hearth Charm was really,
Yeah.
really such an aware play. And then I just felt like your individual choices were really very, very specific. But like it just like Tom must have had a plan. Like it's like he knew that you had certain stuff up and he just like went for it. So I just assumed that his hand was incredibly dense with hydroblasts, which it looks like it were. The naturalizers are obviously fantastic because Tom's going to be a hydroblast deck after sideboarding, and you can't hydroblast a naturalize. I think that Tom was super fortunate in that his combo piece was Vision Charm instead of Stifle, because that stole the opportunity for you to cast the Hull Breach, right? So if it was in play, you could have just Hull Breached, but it wasn't in play on your turn. So I think just like what Mike said, it was an incredibly tight match. It was like really exciting.
Yeah, I had a lot of answers in hand, like I said, but didn't have the pressure to I don't know, finish him fast.
Mm-hmm.
So I let him time to find the pieces and the counters that are cheap than mine, and he had a lot of lands at that point.
Chad is just asking Christian if you could have lived another turn by blocking. I think you were at 9 life.
No, I am at 5, I think.
Oh, you were at 5.
Point. Yeah.
Oh yes, you were at 5. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
That's right.
That
yeah.
moment, if Tom didn't have the the days, I win at that point with the War Drift. Was my last card at that point. And yeah, I'm play now too, but I asked Tom about the Vision Charm when the guy comes into play, because I'm thinking to play the charm on my turn or in his upkeep. But yeah, it was the best. Another question I had was about the stifle on the trigger of Paldriver from the protection from blue, but yeah, it's other ability.
Yeah,
I did look that up just in case, but like, yeah, we talked it through. We're like, wait, no, it's just a trigger.
Yeah, players were confused about life totals because I had it backwards on stream, so apologies for that.
Okay. Yeah, great match. I know both of your choices got to be hard for goblins, but yeah, it was intense matches.
I'm gonna pop out and get ready to make my camera like
All right.
just zoom in and out
Sure.
every time I move my hand. That's really what I'm going for.
All right.
See you soon.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break as we get our other players set up. I want to thank everyone for watching so far, and thank you players for a really entertaining match. That was really fun to watch. So thanks, and we will see you guys next week. But everyone watching, we are going to take a short break as we get things ready for our round 3, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back.